Sorry, I should have said this is not appropriate for kids. You know now. Hey gents, I don't know if you're a long-time watcher of the show and you're just tuning in. If you are, it's not necessarily just science and building anymore. It's kind of geared towards men. We're doing advice, we're playing games, we're telling stories, we're doing challenges, but also, yes, builds and science and cooking and stuff like that. So watch this video if you're interested. Great, stay subscribed. So now that we got that out of the way, some of you might know, because I've actually done these videos in the past, if you're a long-time watcher of the show, I used to work for Disney. I did the Disney college program thing. I lived in Arizona. I thought, hey, you know what would be awesome? To take this internship, work for 5 months in Disney, in Florida, go to a side of the country I basically haven't been to for a long period of time, have some fun, meet some people. It'll be a great thing to talk about and tell great stories about later. And it was, you know, by the end of 5 months, you're kind of like, all right, I've done it. I'm happy that I did this. It's time to go home, time to go back to real life. But I have so many great stories from it. I have great stories from other things, but you know, I'm gonna have a lot of Disney stories here because I was fortunate enough to get a really cool job while I was there. Before you show up, you hear that, hey, you're going to be working in food and beverage, or as a lifeguard, or in attractions. So I got put into attractions. And attractions could be like your stroller parking by such and such ride, and okay, that's gonna happen. Or it could be like, hey, you're gonna be on the ship giving the thing on Jungle Cruise, and that's gonna be a ton of fun for you. I didn't get either one of those. I got to work at the Kilimanjaro Safari Ride, which is in Disney's Animal Kingdom in Florida, which was a ton of fun, way better for me. Yeah, I have kind of a sciencey background. Both my parents are science teachers. I went to school to be an engineer for a little while, and being able to just talk about animals all day was a ton of fun. Obviously, animals are super interesting and they do crazy things. And sometimes they do crazy things because they're animals and they have a nature that is not child-friendly enough for Disney, and that's the kind of story we're going to be telling today. So, Disney's Animal Kingdom, it's specifically a lot of African animals. So you're going to start your journey, and you're going to come into a forest area that has a couple of deer. It has an okapi, which is a relative of the giraffe. You're going to come into like this next little biome area, and you're going to be hanging out near the Safi River, it's called. And the Safi River has some hippopotamuses, something like that. I want to say hippopotami. Some crocodiles, and you're going to keep going from biome to biome and see all these awesome African animals doing their African animal thing. And then you're going to come out to sort of the main area where you're going to see antelope and giraffe and elephants and all these crazy things. And then there's this area where once you're leaving this main area, you're going to go by some rock formations. So you can't see into the next area. And you'll be able to see this big bull elephant first thing once you get past the rocks. But on the other side of that, the mandrills are here. The mandrills are these baboon-like things. People say baboons, they're totally different. It always gets mixed up. And they have a really interesting social dynamic there. Yes, there are plenty of males and females in every herd of mandrill, or every group of mandrill. But not every male is an alpha male, and there's a pretty big difference between the alpha male and the other males. The females might be 20 or 30 pounds, the other males might be 30 to 50 pounds, but the alpha male that's been able to have all this testosterone running through its body, and there can only be one per group, it gets to be like 100 pounds, big, chunky, colorful thing. And obviously, the way that nature works, sometimes a male becomes a little bit older, and it will stop being the alpha. So another male has to start building up some extra testosterone. So this is actually a time before that I'm telling this story about. Before I was there, that has been shared with me, just so you understand what these monkey brains are like. So one day, there was a rising alpha male going from the 30 to 50 pound area into like the 60 or 70 pound area, starting to put on some weight, starting to put on some color, starting to mate with the females a little bit more. And the proper alpha male is probably tolerating it for a little while and eventually gets tired of it. He sees like this female that this other semi-alpha male has mounted. Sorry, I should have said this is not appropriate for kids. You know now. that this other semi-alpha male has mounted, it was the final one. It couldn't go on anymore. So the main alpha male walks over, pushes this semi-alpha male off, this poser, onto the ground and says, you know what, bro? I'm done with this, and you're done with it. Grabs the semi-alpha male by the testicles and rips them off on show. On show means like this is in front of guests. Guests are actively seeing this. And that's just the way it goes. Nature is going to remain being nature, whether it's in a contained environment or not. You don't get to have like Disney family-friendly adventures with the animals all the time at Animal Kingdom. They're going to continue being animals. So that gives you a little bit of background of what the mandrills are like. But I have a different story. I was coming around this corner to the mandrill area, and almost every time it's fine. Almost every time it's safe and appropriate for the children who are inevitably on the ride. But today was not one of those days. I see the African bull elephant off to my right, and I turn to look to my left to talk about the mandrills. And I have arrived on this fateful day of the alpha male mating with all the females, which is definitely not appropriate for children, definitely not good for the children to see on show. I'm going to say some words and bleep them out because this is how people talked about it backstage. So backstage, we'd all be in the break room, we'd talk about our crazy animal stories, and people would say, oh my gosh, did you see the mandrills? They did their mating routine, and they colloquially referred to it as the f***ing chuck. All the females will line up in a straight line, and the male will walk up to one of them, spend a couple loving seconds with each of the females, and because he's like 3 or 4 times their size, he will then finish with one, throw it to the side, step up to the next female, and do the same thing. So it's not the most tender, loving experience, and it's really horrible for the kids to see. This isn't like when the giraffes are on each other and you're like, oh, they're playing, they're wrestling. Anyways, look at the wildebeest. It's not like that. It's violent, it's aggressive, and it's not loving at all. So I immediately come around the corner and I want to be so far away. I'm just like, oh, no, don't look at the mandrills. Look at the elephant. Don't look in that direction. And I slam on the gas pedal. Now, first of all, we have this thing called a governor put on the vehicle, so they can only go up to like 5 or 10 miles an hour. It's been a while since I've been there. It might have been 15, whatever. You can't go that fast. The unfortunate thing in this area too is it's a really narrow pathway that they've made for you, and there's a very specific, just like maybe like a 1 or 2 degree variant that you're able to drive through this area without like going up on a rail, basically. And so it's also very rocky there. And when I panicked, I did not think about the exact 1 degree precision angle that I need to be going at so that I don't jump a curb. So I go up on the curb and I have this multi-ton truck resting on one wheel on a jagged pointed surface, and my rim stabs into my tire and pops it. So, fortunately, the mandrills were so disturbed by the popping tire that they ran away and stopped doing the thing in front of the kids. Unfortunately, I'm also now stuck here with only 3 good wheels, and I've actually talked to people since then. Apparently, they would just have you finish the tour even though you're only like 1/3 of the way through. That's not how we did it back in my day. Back in my day, you would actually, there's a couple different spots you can take the vehicle off because you park them in sort of a back parking lot when the day is over. And so we actually took this whole group of guests back there, put a little like step stool up on the side and said, all right, everyone get off the truck. And then they had to re-enter the park and be like guided out. It was like, first of all, it's just the least magical experience you could have there. I'm sure it was a great story, but what ends up happening is you have all these people come around the corner and go, oh, look at the elephants, and the mandrills are doing the f***ing chuck. And then I go, gotta get out of here, pop a tire, big explosion, mandrills run away, and then we're trapped there for like 10 minutes as I'm radioing in and saying, what do I do? Where do you want me to go? I go off stage, all these people have to unload in the back at these like basically like mobile home type break area, training area things that no guest is ever supposed to go to. No magic back there. It's not the prettiest thing. It's not bad, but it's just like old mobile homes from the 90s, basically. And you have to like, just go back in, pretend this never happened. I'm sorry, you get like these fast passes so you can come back later and not have the same experience. But long story short, nature is crazy sometimes. It's unpredictable. Animals are going to do what they're going to do. You can't control them. And that's pretty much the entire experience I had at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I've shared stories of crazy guests coming out, being upset about the way that I drove my vehicle, even though there's a governor on it and I can only go so fast. I've heard stories about people getting out and bothering the animals, getting treed by the animals, because the antelope can be very aggressive and they'll chase people up trees. I've heard stories about giraffes trying to lick people, so guests punch them in the face to get them off of them. It's a crazy time. I have a list of like 30 stories to tell, so I'm going to be telling one of these a week, probably-ish. And then afterwards, I'll have to go to, my boring actual life to tell stories about. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Look forward to more Disney Animal Kingdom stories of working at the Kilimanjaro Safari Ride. And I hope to see you next week. If you're into video games, challenges, if you want advice about how to be a young man in today's world, hey, this is the place for you. You can challenge yourself, you can work out, you can kick back, laugh, have some good times. That's what we're gonna do on the channel, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, gents.